injured in an accident, you need a lawyer, and you deserve an advocate. Because every accident has a ripple effect. It affects your time, your health, your ability to make money, everything. That's where the advocates can help. Speaking with an attorney is simple and 100% free. We're available 24/7 for your convenience, and we'll take on the claims process so you can rest easy. Because you're not just a client to us, you're a person, and you deserve the best help you can get. You deserve an advocate.
This is the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, the Monty Show, live on your YouTube machine to Friday, January 7th. That I said Tuesday, Friday. We will be off the rest of the week on a business trip. We'll be at CES in Las Vegas. If you're going to be there, send us a DM. Maybe we can
link up and stuff and hook up
with Jake
and stuff.
It's funny. We were just talking about this right before the show started. Jake would love to hook up with you.
Yeah.
Hook it up. We'll be at CES for the rest of the week this week. But as always, we are presented by the Advocates at theadvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. You know, you never reach into your pocket to pay the Advocates. Why is that? What does that mean to you? That means that you don't have to worry about being able to afford an attorney. Well, Monty's, no consultation fees, no retainers. No. You worry about getting healthy. Did you get hurt at work? The Advocates are the workman's comp injury experts at theadvocates.com. Car accidents, slips and falls. My friends in Dallas, my goodness, it is going to be an unbelievable week of weather in Dallas, Texas. Should the worst happen, get to theadvocates.com. If you're in the Midwest on the East Coast, theadvocates.com, they are ready to serve you. Travel and injury attorney live online for free, 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime at theadvocates.com. So I am fascinated by how pissed off you are about Mike McCarthy and the Chicago Bears.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to come back to that story. But I want to plant the seed now. The Chicago Bears, the Bears, have asked permission to talk to Dallas Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy, whose contract expires today. He is in an exclusive negotiating window with the Dallas Cowboys until next Tuesday. Then he can go wherever he wants. The Bears have asked permission. It's a formality. Why do you hate this so much?
Well, I mean, I just think that, my first reaction was I just felt like the Bears could do better. I felt like the Bears were, are regarded as the best opening, or if not the best opening, the second best opening. So for me, I just feel like, Mike McCarthy is someone who, yes, is a veteran head coach, has experience, could probably do some good things for you. But I don't feel like Mike McCarthy is the solution to everything that the Bears need. And in my opinion, I do feel like the Bears are in the rebuilding process. You've got a young quarterback. You've got a terrible offensive line. You've got a really, really solid, one of the best wide receiver rooms. So you have weapons that way. The defense is solid, can improve in some areas, but is pretty good. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like when we talk about like where the Bears are at, you're still trying to figure out what offensive system is going to work for you moving forward. And that's where I say, everybody up until yesterday when this news came out was all over Cliff Kingsbury, Ben Johnson, young offensive-minded head coach that can come in here and relate to Caleb Williams and form that relationship and push the Bears forward. Mike McCarthy news comes out and everyone loses their mind and says that Mike is now, somehow the best option for the Bears. And I just think that was really reactionary. I felt like, people just jumped all over Mike McCarthy. And I understand the guy's won a Super Bowl. I understand that, he's been around some of the best quarterbacks that the NFL has to offer. So I'm not saying Mike is a bad head coach or that he is somehow, incapable of doing what the Bears need their next head coach to do. But what I am saying is that I feel like there's been this pretty swift swing out of the Ben Johnson, Cliff Kingsbury sort of philosophy is in terms of who they're going to hire. And what I don't want the Bears to do is go after Mike with the mindset of, hey, this guy's the best available because he's been doing it longer. I just don't agree with that. I think that, when it comes to head coaches, and this is at the college level or in the NFL, you need a guy that's dynamic. You need a guy that has the right energy for your situation. And I just don't know if that's Mike McCarthy because he's got more experience.
Well, I think certainly what ails the Chicago Bears is what Mike McCarthy does well. I mean, for all of Mike's failings, one, yes, he won a Super Bowl. Yeah, it was 15 years ago. Absolutely it was. He won a Super Bowl. The thing that this Chicago Bears team needs is they need a veteran coach who understands how to handle veteran players. And the thing that I disagree with and where we part company on the Chicago Bears is I don't believe the Bears are rebuilding. I think the Bears have a top 10, certainly probably top 7 defense. I think this team has one of the better wide receiver rooms in the league. You have a capable set of running backs, and you have a dynamic young quarterback who has 0 offensive line. That's not a rebuilding team. Do you have ownership issues? Absolutely. You have a really solid young general manager, and they've got to address the offensive line. I think that is very different than rebuilding. I think it is very different than saying that you have to tear this thing down. This is not the New York Jets. This is not, we don't have a quarterback. We don't have an offensive line. We don't have a head coach. We don't have a general manager, and we don't have an ownership group. That's rebuilding. And I think that part is really important. But when you listen to what these Chicago Bears have said, overwhelmingly, the Bears in this locker room have talked openly and loudly about the fact that they want a leader who understands chemistry. He understands as a head coach how to build leadership in his players, in his coaching staff, and that group works together to clearly communicate to the front office. That's what these players have all but said. You listen to DJ Moore, you listen to Keenan Allen, 2 of the veteran leaders on the Chicago Bears roster, who have both said, we need an experienced head coach. And I think one of the bigger storylines here that not a lot of people are talking about is the freak factor with Ben Johnson. And now it's started to come out that Ben Johnson is not a very good interview. When you bring him in to interview for your head coaching job, he does not apparently overwhelm you with his answers, his personality. Apparently, Ben Johnson wants 100% control of his coaching staff. As a first-time head coach, that usually does not happen. Ben Johnson has said this year that he is going to completely change the way he interviews, that he will not just interview for every open job. He is only interviewing for gigs that he has an intention of taking, which is why it's very interesting. He is going to interview with the Chicago Bears, and I think that is very interesting. The only other gig that he is going to interview for, the New England Patriots. That is very interesting to me, that he is just not taking every interview.
Mm-hmm.
And one comparison that I heard yesterday, Josh McDaniels and Ben Johnson. And that's not a comparison, if you're Ben Johnson, that you are excited to be part of, in my opinion.
I would agree with that.
I think that's why Mike McCarthy is being asked to interview for the Chicago Bears job. Is he the guy I would hire? No. But you know what I like about this request? It's unexpected. It's well thought out. It's a different way of thinking. We're not going for the rookie head coach with no experience. You know what? Hey, our players have spoken. We need to not only acknowledge what they've said, we need to make an effort to fulfill that request. My guy, and I think I've said this all along, would be Cliff Kingsbury, the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders. That'd be my dude. That'd be my number one target. I never even thought about Mike McCarthy, but I'll tell you, as somebody that's a passionate supporter of the Chicago Bears, I don't hate Mike McCarthy as the next head coach. This guy's offenses in Dallas and in Green Bay are routinely league leading, near the top of the league, passing offenses, above middle rushing offenses. His quarterbacks almost, you look at Dak Prescott's numbers. He's been better under Mike McCarthy. You look at Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers' best days, Mike McCarthy was his head coach. And certain a-holes and jamokes walked into my studio this morning and were talking about how Mike McCarthy and his fat head got run out of Green Bay.
Me?
So this guy walks in here and he's like, yeah, fathead got run out of Green Bay. Why are you excited about this? Was it Mike McCarthy or was Aaron Rodgers actually the problem in Green Bay? Yeah, I think I'm going to lean that Aaron Rodgers and his mud butt ayahuasca drinking self was a big part of the problem in Green Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy. I think I've made that pretty clear. I don't disagree that Aaron Rodgers played a key role in Mike leaving Green Bay. The thing that concerns me, and again, I'm not saying Caleb Williams is Aaron Rodgers, but I think when you hire a head coach, when you're in the Bears position, you have to consider the long-term ramifications as well. So like, hey, if we hire Mike, and let's say that Mike does what, people who like this hire think he will. He'll develop Caleb. They'll turn into, at a minimum, a wild card team. Hopefully, ideally, you would turn into a regular playoff team for the next, however long Mike would be there. I guess my biggest thing is just, okay, I can see how Mike translates to taking you from where you are now to a playoff team. But then is that to like in 3 seasons, if you've made the playoffs every year, let's say next year you're a wild card team, and now let's say you win a divisional, you win you get to that next round. Is that good enough? Because that's the other thing I'm curious about. Because
wait a minute, did you just matriculate down the field with a well thought out conversation here?
Maybe, I don't know. Let's not get carried away. But my
little boy grew up.
The problem is on the other side of it, the guy I would hire, Cliff Kingsbury.
Cliffy.
Obviously, as we said yesterday, not a great ownership situation when he was in Arizona.
But hot girlfriend,
epic mansion in Scottsdale.
Sex pad.
Yeah, like
it's my guy.
Vibes, we get it. But again, that didn't really work out, right? It didn't pan like Kyler Murray. It was a good quarterback, but I think he's seen better days after Cliffy. So you can make an argument both ways, but the reality of the situation is whoever the Bears hire, it has to be the right hire for now and for probably 5 seasons at least.
And as Lopes fan Gabe said, who's been a member of the show for 24 freaking months, my dude, hit the like button. As you hit the like button, I would ask you, who's a better fit? Cliff Kingsbury or Mike McCarthy? Both of them have experience with terrible owners. Mike McCarthy's got experience in the division at Green Bay where he won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Mike McCarthy and Cliffy both have deep experience developing quarterbacks, taking them to not a good level, an elite level. I mean, I think those are your 2 best candidates.
Well, I think you're leaving out one key piece. Cliff's got experience with Caleb Williams. That's the only other thing that I would add to his.
Very briefly at USC.
Mm-hmm. But
that
still
matters.
Yeah.
Excellent point. My feeling is Mike McCarthy is probably a better choice than Cliff Kingsbury. The thing that worries me is I don't want Brian Schottenheimer as the offensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. And that seems to be Mike McCarthy's guy. Now, I think we all know that Mike builds legendary staffs, but here nor there. At the end of the day, I think that's a really good question. What's the expectation if McCarthy gets a job? Do we expect the Bears to be a perennial playoff performer? Ryan Poles, if he's still your general manager, and it appears he will be, the offensive line has to get exponentially better.
Right.
And you have to continue to draft well.
Which I say, you pull up the draft order, conversation we were having the other day.
Well,
now I got to start talking about, okay, well, let's say, today's Tuesday? Let's say by the weekend you've hired your head coach. Maybe it's next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the next 10 days or whatever. Okay, let's say that goes down. Mike McCarthy is your head coach who you hire and he brings in his staff. Now I got to start asking, well, what are you doing in the draft now that you've hired Mike? Because obviously it goes without saying you're not drafting quarterback. You've already got one.
Yes.
I would obviously think that you're going to draft offensive line. But my question is, what is Mike's thought and philosophy on the Bears roster? Is Mike's coming in saying, hey, like, yeah, we got to improve the offensive line? That goes without saying. But in this year's draft, I really want to spend most of our assets on the offensive side. I want to beef up the running back room, let's say, or I want to beef up this or that. Or would Mike say, hey, we have a solid defense, but I want to get more edge rushing, because Mike's always had dominant edge rushers on his football team for the most part. So, like, those are the things that I'm curious about. If you hire Cliff, that conversation is going to be different.
Look at this draft order. And a lot of people thought, and I think I even said this yesterday on the show, I was disappointed to see the Bears go from 9 to 10. But I spent a lot of time mock drafting yesterday looking at who really needs what in this draft order. I think one of the biggest things that happened was Tennessee moved up to number 1 and New England fell to number 4. And you might say, well, Monty, why? Because I think when you look at what's ahead of the Bears now, the Titans are no longer looking at anything but, in my opinion, Shedeur Sanders.
Mm-hmm.
I think at 2, the Cleveland Browns are looking at nothing but quarterback.
Yeah, and by the way, on that note, the Deshaun Watson update yesterday, how, he had a setback. A lot of people think his career is over, so they're definitely drafting quarterback.
3 now. The New York Giants are no longer going to go offensive line. You're going Travis Hunter. There's no question about that. I feel like the top 3 are really locked in here. 4, New England Patriots. This one's very interesting because if you let's say you hire Ben Johnson, right? Let's say that's the move you make.
For the Patriots.
You're probably going offensive line, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
I think in that situation, and this, I guess, is where conjecture comes in, I think they're a better fit with Calvin Banks.
Mm-hmm.
That's where life gets exponentially better for the Bears, because then you start looking up and down. Jacksonville's going defense, there's no doubt about it. Vegas is going skill player on the outside, there's no doubt about it. I think the Jets are going skill player on the outside. Because there's no quarterback there. I would assume the Jets are going to make a trade, but Carolina's going defense. You have to. There's no question about it. The Saints, there's no question they're going to get somebody who murders quarterbacks. So then look who's sitting at number 10 for the Chicago Bears, which is shocking that now the best offensive tackle in the draft, who is Will Campbell from LSU,
right?
Who is, in my opinion, 1A and 1A to Banks. But there's no doubt Will Campbell's a better fit for the Chicago Bears.
Right.
And I say that because Caleb Williams was sacked 68 times.
Mm-hmm. Now, I have to say on that point, part of that is just the awful offensive scheme they were running. And their play calling based on down and distance was absolutely awful and compounded how bad this offensive line is.
Can you imagine him either slotting in at right tackle or left guard? Because he fits both in the NFL.
Right.
Forget it. If that is you don't even have to think about it. You're just, that name's on the slip and you're just waiting to send it in. I'm telling you, the Bears are sitting pretty.
Yeah.
The Bears are sitting pretty, and I know not a lot of people are going to love that, but...
Well, I mean, they're definitely on the right track to get back to being a contender. There's no doubt. I mean, I think that, the problem is, and maybe it's not a problem, the timing works out fine. I mean, you've got 3 11-win-plus teams in the division. Obviously the line's sitting at, 16 wins or 15 wins now or whatever it is. So, like, you have a
15.
division that you're in where the other 3 teams are really good right now and you're bad. So hopefully if you can get this right and then you can draft well, hopefully that paradigm shifts and one of those teams falls off and you can become that team that's trying to be a 10-win team.
I think if you look at the NFC North, the Packers are very much up in the air. I think you look at the Vikings, all of a sudden, and it's not me, but all of a sudden people are questioning Sam Darnold at quarterback. I agree. The turnovers continue. The missed throws continue.
Well, and when you go 18-41 in your first playoff game with the team, that's a rough look.
That game, that Sunday night game, I think really damaged in there, but fine.
Yeah.
The best team in this division is the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And I think that's a team that is now going to deal with attrition. And if they don't win the Super Bowl now, I feel like Detroit's at this, you're either going to win and go to the top of the mountain or you're going to plummet. Because you're probably going to lose 2 of your coordinators. Aaron Glenn's interviewing in New Orleans, and he played in New Orleans, by the way. So that's a big deal. I think Ben Johnson's going to get the New England job. So you're going to have to replace 2 coordinators. And I'm really curious to see, can Detroit win the Super Bowl now? Okay, great conversation down the road. This division next year will not be up for grabs. I think Detroit will still be very good. The Bears have a path to the playoff next year.
Yeah.
Hire Mike McCarthy. Hire Cliff Kingsbury. Draft a good offensive lineman. And add depth on your offensive line and your defensive line. That's what this team needs. It does not need to be torn down and rebuilt.
I agree with that. Yeah, I think, and maybe that's where we're different on the whole rebuilding concept. When I say that I still think they're in the middle of rebuilding, I'm not saying that I think they should tear it down at all. I think that they've done a solid job to this point. The problem is that and it's the point you always make, the Bears don't understand timing with firing guys and hiring guys. And so now
I agree.
You're in the middle of your process where Eberflus had to be fired. That just wasn't going to make it the rest of the year.
Yep.
And now you're looking at hiring somebody. So I just think that there's a lot of factors that go into it. But the good news is that I think we've seen, Poles and Kevin Warren and ownership typically are on the same page. Couple of bumps in the road here and there, but have been on the same page. And overall, the Bears really should be able to go from where they are now to becoming a playoff team every year. And if you get it right, you should be a team for the next 10 years with Caleb Williams that competes for the division. That's what we're talking about.
So Eric in Durham says, nothing says Bears football like getting a retread coach that failed with the Packers and Cowboys.
Well, I don't know that I'd say failed with the Packers. He won a Super Bowl. And by the way, he was in the playoffs almost every year.
And I don't even think he's failed with the Cowboys. Have they won? No. Have his offenses been terrible? Not at all. Have they been league leading? Yes. Is that a horribly flawed roster? Yes. Is ownership ask yourself this question in Dallas. Mike McCarthy or the ownership? Who's more to blame? Mike certainly carries some blame, no question. But you really think the way they handled the cap, the way they handled Dak and CeeDee Lamb's contracts, you feel like that's Mike McCarthy's fault? Because those are the things that are plaguing this team. You think offering guys essentially combined $10 million more because you waited to sign them, that's Mike McCarthy's fault. I don't think it is. I would disagree with you on that. Mike Smith, good morning, Mountain Mama. Have the Jets contacted the Monty Show to interview for the head coaching job? They did. They did. Well, they did. I just didn't tell you that.
Oh,
and I turned it down.
Well, let's see. That's a smart decision.
I turned it down.
Yeah.
I appreciate you asking. I think Big Mike would be good for a young QB. No question about it.
Yeah, I
no doubt about it.
I'm not saying Mike would be bad. I don't disagree. He can come in and do what you need him to do.
You're saying it's an energy inspiration.
It's an energy inspiration philosophical hire.
It's tough to argue with that. I agree.
And I do think when you're hiring a head coach, it's good to have contrast. You've got 2 very different guys here. And again, we don't know who what their depth chart is of who they prioritize, obviously. But I have to think Mike McCarthy and Cliff Kingsbury are your 2 best options here, because Ben Johnson, this news about Ben Johnson and the way he interviews, and obviously you're going to interview him, you see firsthand, but I have to think Mike and Cliff Kingsbury are the 2 leading candidates to go ahead and pick up this job. And it's just going to come down to who you think can do the most for you. Mike McCarthy is a veteran. He's been in the league for Lord knows how long. I mean, it's got to be close to 25 years now or whatever it is. So he's clearly got the edge and experience. But I think the crazy thing is with this conversation, what Cliff Kingsbury's doing with Jaden Daniels now actively, you can't tell me that doesn't speak to those guys. So
you can't just look away from it.
So I think it's difficult. It comes down to, what do you prioritize more? I would agree with you that I think Mike McCarthy, in the long term, if we're looking 5 to 7 years down the road, is probably the more reliable hire.
Safer.
Yeah, safer. But I'll be damned if I don't say, hey, Cliff Kingsbury is a better developer of young guy right out of college or 1 to 2 years in the league than I think Mike is.
Well, and the other question is, would he hire, because the Bears are said to have a major, lower extremity blood flow.
Stay hard.
For Tommy Rees. And I agree that Tommy Rees is a really good offensive mind and a really good developer of quarterbacks. Is Mike McCarthy going to come in and they're going to be like, hey, we want you to hire Tommy Rees to be your offensive coordinator? I don't think he's going to do that.
No.
I don't think.
And
he's
again, that's another great point. With Mike, you're not going to have as much say on his staff. He's been doing this a long time.
But his staffs have been
really good,
rock solid,
really good,
right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people forget this dude went 36-15 in a 3-year stretch with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah,
where his offenses were at the top of the NFL.
Yeah,
he's not in my.
So are you?
He's
so
100.
who would you?
He's 174 versus 112 wins and losses. He's a 500 coach in the playoffs, which most guys are not elite in the playoffs.
But again, I have to say he's getting to the playoffs with regularity.
He is,
even though he's a 500 head coach. I agree, hasn't won enough in the playoffs. They've had multiple opportunities to be the better team, go out and win ball games they should win, and they just haven't got the job done. I agree with that. That's fair criticism. But unfortunately for the Bears, that would be better than where they are now. And if you can get to the playoffs and he can just get you, dude, if the Bears are playing for an NFC championship in 3 seasons, Mike McCarthy's going to be God in that town.
I will be naked, lathered up in coconut oil if that happens.
Yeah,
because
you know what I mean?
I'm not used
to
as a Bears fan. I'm not used to going to the playoffs.
Yeah. So would you hire Mike, or who would you want to hire? You think?
I think Cliffy would probably be my number one. Here's the problem, though. Ben Johnson is somebody I've been excited about, but the stuff coming out about the way Ben Johnson interviews, that's a little surprise. We talked about this on the show yesterday. Why is the guy not taking a job yet?
Yeah.
And what is the stigma around him? Well, he's been offered jobs allegedly that he has not taken. And there is some belief that Carolina wanted to hire him and he just didn't call back.
Mm-hmm.
And there is some belief that he is interviewed and just tanked in these interviews. That's concerning. That's for being the best offensive mind. That's concerning. And the on the field stuff matters. They've been elite. Jared Goff's never been a better quarterback. Gaff.
Again,
but
he's a coordinator, not a head coach there. Right. And he doesn't have that responsibility.
Bobby Saleh for the Bears. Nah, I'm good. You can't hire a defensive guy in Chicago, right? That's why Vrabel can't be a candidate.
Yeah.
Vrabel to the Patriots. I think so. And another spot for Tommy Rees. Mike Vrabel and Tommy Rees have a great relationship. So I would watch that. Oh, wow, look at that. Stymie. Rumors Tommy Rees to Vrabel's OC if he gets a Patriots job.
Yeah.
Why is that wild, though? You guys understand that Tommy Rees is, obviously, he's a Notre Dame guy. But he's a guy that, if you look at where he's been, like Alabama, you look at the offenses, you look at the bridge he built in South Bend.
Mm-hmm.
He's done great work. He's really done good work. UW fan Jim, good morning. I think Mike McCarthy is a hell of a coach and he needs to get away from Jerry World. Yeah. Credit where credit's due. Anybody notice the development of Jim Roma Dunze as a blocker? Last 3 weeks, he's had some pretty critical blocking assignments that he's come through on. Now, mofo can't still catch the drops with that cat. Somebody's got to get that kid on a jugs machine this offseason. But Roma Dunze showed real growth since Ebersucks got fired. he showed real development in the blocking scheme for the Bears, which is exciting.
It's huge. It's necessary. It has to happen.
Your wide receivers have to be elite blockers. There is some, not that you guys care about this, but what's coming out about how the Bears handled the post-Eberflus situation, the players really took over that team Monday through Saturday. The coaches focused solely on install and game plan. The players really set the tone in practice. And I think that's why we saw better play as the last month of the season went on.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you don't recover from what happened in Washington. The Hail Mary. In my opinion, is teams don't recover from that.
Right.
But look how much better Tyreek Stevenson was after that. Benched for 2 weeks. Look at how much better he played after that. That's not the coach. That's the player culture. And what's coming out about that locker room now and the high level of character in that locker room is exciting. And we're terrible. We don't win games. But
I think you understand why you don't win games, and I do think it's pretty fixable.
Yeah, I agree. So, welcome to Nothing Air. Being in the same boat and coaching conversation with Josh McDaniels is not what you want to be on. No, it's not.
No,
it's not. A couple more, then we got to get to the Ohio State. Eric and Raleigh, Marcus Freeman to the Bears after winning the college football playoff. Why do you keep going to defensive guys? Why would you hire Marcus Freeman? A, why would he leave Notre Dame after signing what amounts to a lifetime contract? B, why would you want a defensive guy to be the head coach of this team? The math does not add up. It does not add up.
The math doesn't math.
Yeah, that's right. The math, there ain't no math in or Pythagorean theorem stuff. Big Blue Horses, has overperformed in Dallas. That's Mike McCarthy.
Oh, thank you.
Has overperformed in Dallas, given that the owner and the lack of talent on the roster. Did he develop Dak? No. Yeah. Oh, certainly he has. See, this is, again, I go back to this whole thing. Here are the offensive ranks under Mike McCarthy. Offense, 2021, number 1, 22, number 11, 23, number 5. This year, his worst year, 17th.
But also the Cowboys' worst year, riddled with injury.
Yes. No question about it. Number 2 in passing touchdowns, 6th and 19th in passing touchdowns. Right? So you see the injuries, and Mike McCarthy's offenses have not been bad in Dallas. Dak Prescott, if you look at Dak Prescott's arc, right, and you think to yourself, okay, Mike McCarthy got to Dallas in 2020. If we look at Dak's numbers, once Mike McCarthy got there, right, and you start saying to yourself, okay, by any measure, his 2 best seasons by far under Mike McCarthy. I think what he did last year in 2023, completing 70% of his passes, 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions.
Yeah, the thing that stands out to me with Mike McCarthy offenses is the yardage number. Like, you can have a quarterback who, is like 3,500 to 4,000 yards and still have that amount of touchdowns if you're good in the red zone. But what those numbers are telling you is that they put when his offenses are run correctly and his roster is healthy, you're pushing the ball down the field with regularity and reliability. And that's the thing, that I think is really interesting, because if you look at Dak versus Caleb Williams as a quarterback, Caleb Williams is a lot more mobile than Dak is. Dak can run a little bit, and he'll run to get his first down.
The broken ankle leg thing.
Yeah, but again, that ever since that's happened, Dak hasn't been nearly the runner he used to be, which is fine. It's to be expected. I'm not criticizing Dak for that, but my point is that if Mike McCarthy is the head coach of a Caleb Williams-led offense, I think you're going to see some good things. I think you're going to see one of the things that the Bears never did, or at least I didn't see it, maybe I just missed it, is there's no pre-snap motioning. There's no identifying what the defense is through moving guys around before you snap the football. There's none of that little stuff that would help Caleb Williams be a better quarterback. So I think it's pretty harsh to say he didn't develop Dak at all. I think Dak became the polished quarterback that he is and is known to be under Mike McCarthy. And before that, he was still kind of a raw talent that was trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I agree. Anyway, I mean, we can go round and round about this. There's no doubt about that.
Mike is going to be one of those candidates. And I know that you listen to The Score in Chicago all the time. He is going to be a candidate that the public reacts 50-50 on. Some people are going to love this hire, and some people are going to hate this hire. You're going to have people that say he's a mediocre-ass head coach who's been in the league a long time and hasn't won enough and seemingly always has a hurt QB or player. And then you're going to have other people who say, hey, well, he's always got someone who's hurt. And the years he didn't have someone hurt, he won the Super Bowl and had 5,000-yard passers.
But I also think that the Tyreek Stevenson situation, I think, is very interesting. When you tell a cat you're not starting anymore, and you make him earn his way back to that, and you make him a rotational player, and that's a guy that, and you may remember on the Hail Mary, his back was to the line of scrimmage when the ball was snapped. It was a disaster. You benched him for that, essentially, took away his starting job, made him a rotational player, and then the last 2 weeks of the year, you give him his starting job back, and he's an exponentially better player. The culture's there. You need a guy to put whipped cream on top of the sundae.
Yeah.
In my opinion. I think that's what you get. I think that's really what you get when you hire him. I think that's what you get, but that's just me. The Chad Carter, call me crazy, but there's a chance Brable tells Kraft to pound Santa, goes to Chicago. No, because I think the Chicago Bears want a guy that's an offensive mind. I think that's Mike Vrabel's a great coaching candidate.
Not a fit for their situation, though.
He just isn't. He just is not a fit for their situation. So I think it's interesting. The Enron Egg mobile nuclear reactor. Your thoughts? What is it? What are you doing today,
bro?
What are you doing today? That I don't understand. Speaking of the Chad Carter, let's switch gears. Let's get to the college football playoff. Yes, we got carried away on the Bears, but
talking NFL, man, don't complain. Don't complain.
Oh, I don't know that anybody's complaining, but our football talk on this show is presented by Prize Picks, prizepicks.com. Let me show you want to know, my friends, what did I tell you? How do you win on Prize Picks? What do I tell you every day? You win on Prize Picks by listening to good old Uncle Monty. I told you the NBA is one of the easiest places to win on Prize Picks. I told you Devin Bicker.
Who's Devin Bicker?
Dicker the kicker.
Stay hard.
Devin Booker and the Phoenix Suns were going to win last night. That was not a question. But when you forecast Brad Beal, who had a 16.5 point number last night.
Brad Beal.
He hasn't earned Bradley. When he had a 16.5 point number and a 24 point rebound and assist number last night, and you say to yourself, look, Marty, you can't lose on this one. And he drops 25 points when you took him at 16.5. Pimp's going pimp. And then, of course, Devin Booker last night, who had a 28.5 point number, pimp slaps you when he only puts up 24.
Wet like I'm booked.
Not last night. But then you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to torch Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah, the alien.
And Victor Wembanyama last night has a phenomenal game against my crappy Chicago Bulls. But he had a 41.5 point number last night, right? I took less. He finished with 41. Half a point. Just another basket, and I lose. But I didn't lose.
Cashless.
Because as I said, pimp's gonna pimp. And Kobe White dunking on Victor Wembanyama last night. Bro, again.
Stay hard.
I don't subject myself to much self-inflicted pain. So I avoid the Chicago Bulls until last night.
The rack attack.
Watching Kobe White attack the rack That's why you play Prize Picks, because book doesn't have to hit last night. My dude understands that. He can let me down once a month because I played a flex play. 3 picks, only need 2 to win. That's what I got last night.
Yes.
Walked away with $20. Life is good on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty. You deposit $5. They'll give you 50 more when you open a new Prize Picks account using the promo code Monty. Go take advantage of the $25 protected play you get right out of the gate. Go take advantage of Flexi Friday. There's so many reasons and so many ways to win. The college football playoff, great place to start with your new Prize Picks account. Promo code Monty.
By the way,
yes,
we're going on this business trip. We will be coming to you from the sports book most likely during the college football playoffs. So make sure you stick around the channel. We will be providing some content solutions.
We will do that. It's going to be a fun trip. We're going to Vegas, so we're off the rest of the week. We're going to Vegas for CES. I have some big business to do there. Looking forward to it. I wish it was a golf trip. We're going to play some golf, but duh. But this is all business. But yeah, Thursday night. Who wants to watch the Irish lose with me on Thursday night? Anybody? Let's not talk about that game yet. Let's talk about I just can't. Is Ohio State ready to win the whole damn thing? And I think this is a really interesting question because I think you look at this matchup with Ohio State and Texas, and I think these two head coaches, Ryan Day and Steve Sarkisian, are two of the more maligned guys in big games. A lot of people don't believe in them. But again, what have we talked about all year long with Ohio State football? How much pressure Ryan Day and Chip Kelly were under. I think they answered a lot of questions. With this run through the college football playoff so far, the absolute ass whooping that they put on Oregon. Now you run into the best team you faced all year. Now you run into the best defense you faced all year, the deepest roster, the most talent, the best offense that this Ohio State Buckeyes defense has faced. Is this Bucs defense ready to go up against Sark's offense? I think it is. Do you trust Ryan Day? Buck fans, that's what we need to talk about. And I know we have a ton of Ohio State representation on the show. Let's get it going in the comment section. Do you trust Ryan Day in a massive situation? Any way you slice it, this is a huge game. Jake, do you trust Ryan Day to get the job done against Texas?
I don't fully trust him. I love what he did against Oregon. I love the way the team came out. I loved the scheme. I loved how aggressive they were. That's exactly how the Ohio State offense needs to play to have success. But the thing that concerns me, or maybe the thing that I'm just personally not over yet, is how they've showed up in other big games. And it's kind of that deal where it's like, hey, you did it once, but now I want you to do it again. And I want you to show me that against a really, really game Texas team that you can come out and you can, put them in the same position you put Oregon in, because I would say that Oregon probably has typically most weeks, every other week of the season, except when they played you, they're a really physical team that is capable of stopping the run and putting you in obvious, passing situations, 3rd and 7+ type situations. And I think if you're not careful, Texas will do the same thing to you. But I think the one thing that I took away from the Texas ASU game was that Texas is a little bit vulnerable. Texas is not that team that is just a cold-blooded killer until they absolutely have to be, until they're in overtime and it's 4th and 13 and they're fighting for their life. So my sneaking suspicion is that Ohio State will come out and they will play a good game and Ryan Day is going to have a nice day. But there's just that little part of me where I'm like, hey, man, is Ryan Day going to come out in this game and flop? Because that's what you've shown me that you're prone to doing. And it's really hard for me just to ignore, just those games where the team just is not engaged and locked in. So do I trust Ryan Day? Not 100%. No. Do I think they're going to have a good day? Yes, I do. I like 70% of me feels like this is going to be probably a 7 to 10 point victory if that same Ohio State team shows up. I think at the end of the day, if that team shows up, you're probably looking at a 7 to 10 point victory for Ohio State. But again, who shows up?
Yeah, we shall see. Salty Virginia Peanuts. D-Rock, thanks for the emoji warning. You got timed out.
Dude, emojis are nothing to play with, bro.
Easily the most stupid thing about the Monty Show. I have nothing to do with that. I'm not the one that times you out or whatever you're saying. This has been a thing on this show for years, bro. Dude. If you comment, and we've talked to Google/YouTube, which is really difficult to do, by the way, but we had a kind of a question and answer session with our YouTube rep. If you post only emojis in a comment, 9 out of 10 times YouTube's going to look at that as spam. And if you do it repeatedly, you get, I don't know, whatever you call it, filtered, timed out, whatever it is. I'm not sure what exactly happens, but we have no say over that. We have our comment filter is, you probably don't care about this. We have a setting that we choose. We are on moderate. We are not easily read the comment section. Our comment section is not heavily moderated by YouTube. You can say a lot of things, but when you post only emojis, they view it as spam. We have nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
That is not us. So there you go. Oak State James says summary. Okay.
What the hell does that mean?
Okay. The awkward guy, I believe Sark is, I believe in Sark. I just don't believe in Quinn. Well,
that's another part of the conversation.
And I think this is a really important point. Quinn Ewers versus Will Howard. Who do you want? You guys know on this show, I'm all team Will Howard. I believe in Will. I think Will is a phenomenal quarterback.
Stay hard.
Is Quinn Ewers. This is a very Ashton Jeanty, Cam Scadaboo. Is Quinn Ewers the better NFL prospect? On paper, build, body set, absolutely he is. I'll take Will Howard. Because I think Will Howard has shown us what I think he grew and learned from the Ohio State debacle early in the season at Oregon. I think he showed us that in big games, he shows up constantly. He isn't the guy, and I should knock on wood here, but he's not the guy that floats lame ducks over the middle in a playoff game that allows teams back into the contest.
Mm-hmm.
Quinn Ewers has done that repeatedly, including against Scadaboo and Dilly.
Yeah, I think for me, that was the most impressive part of the Ohio State win over Oregon is that it wasn't like you were just turning around and handing it off early in that game and you just ran all over him. Now, obviously later in the game you did, but early in that game, you took shots and you were hitting on those shots. And that's the crazy part is that it was simply just making great play after great play. So again, that's why I think it's really hard when the question is, hey, like, who do you trust? What do you think is reliable in this game? What I think is reliable is what we know Sark's offense to be. A bunch of confusion, a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of deception. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I think you're going to see from Ohio State. I think you're going to see a commitment to the run early and seeking, those big opportunities to run play action and bomb it down the field. Make them show you they can stop Jeremiah Smith because Oregon couldn't.
Okay, so Salty Virginia Peanuts is saying that he used, what did you say here? That it was a bunch of emojis and it was a bunch of, what did you say? It was a bunch of clover leaf emojis attached to text. No, it was not, because I can see what your filtered comment is now. And I can tell you that you had no text in there. You had the letter D, a rock, and 8 clovers, and then 4 more exclamation points. You're using, bro. It's just, this is age old.
You're trying to tell people who YouTube every day how it works. Dude.
I know what the rules are.
With all due respect, I just don't understand why you're arguing this point, dude.
Yeah, I what I'm telling you is if you use a bunch of repetitive characters and a bunch of emoji, you're going to get filtered. YouTube does that repeatedly. We have no control over it. So I'm just telling why would I want to filter comments or block people?
Yeah, that's not good for us, dude.
Do some mathing.
Yeah.
If fewer people watch the show or fewer people comment, what does that do to our show? Less engagement, less algorithm. Why would I do that? That's why we don't block. That's why I don't block people on X. I just don't read notifications. It's why I don't block people on YouTube. It's bad for business. It's bad for business. The Stadium Guy, James Sunbury. I picked Ohio State in September. My comments are on my channel. So paying $5 to self-aggrandize.
It's going to be like this.
It's going to be this kind of day, I feel.
Yeah.
Like. Howard is the best pick in the portal. He was the lead. He will lead the Ohio State to a national championship. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
YouTube user, Salty Peanuts. You continue to argue against Notre Dame. Who's arguing? Exactly what will you do when they make the championship game? What will you do if they win it? What is? I'm not arguing against Notre Dame. I picked Notre Dame in just about every game this year. I picked them over Texas A&M. In the playoff, I picked them against Indiana. I told you to be a close game against Georgia. Shockingly, it was not. But what have I said about Notre Dame all season long? My opinion on Notre Dame has not changed.
Yeah.
What's my opinion been?
Yeah, your opinion's been that obviously they're defensive. They've got an elite defense, and Riley Leonard is a liability. And so, when you combine Riley Leonard and his inability to throw the ball down the field and throw the team to a win, when you combine that factor with Marcus Freeman's seemingly inability to manage the game in big moments, that doesn't work out well for Notre Dame.
And what did I say the other day about Marcus Freeman? The Georgia game was the first time I saw him make philosophical changes, make good X's and O decisions.
Yeah, I think the hard count thing, against Georgia was really interesting. We've never seen that. I would call that trickery out of Marcus Freeman, where your team is prepared, because you got to practice that a little bit, right? Like your team's got to be prepared to go out and run that. And they did, and he deserves credit. But I don't think that I would disagree. I don't think you've argued against Notre Dame. No. I just think that you don't believe that Riley Leonard, or let me put it this way. You believe that at some point Notre Dame's going to have to throw their way to a win. And when that time comes, Riley Leonard's not going to be able to deliver.
If you're Penn State, why would you not stack to stop the run and make Riley Leonard throw the ball down the field to beat you? Because our best running back is hurt in Jeremiah Love. Riley Leonard's your best running back. You don't have a best quarterback.
Right.
So what you call picking against Notre Dame, you're emotional about it. I'm not emotional about it. I am very analytical when it comes to sports.
Yeah. I just don't think it's rocket science or some hot take to say that Riley Leonard's inability to throw the football down the field is a liability for Notre Dame. You're essentially, you're literally going into the college football playoff. And this speaks to how good the defense is, by the way.
Yeah.
But you're literally going into the college football playoff with one arm tied behind your back offensively because you thought it was a good idea to go out and bring a guy in who played one great game against you at Duke. Like that's the problem.
I would love nothing more than to go to bed on Thursday night knowing Notre Dame is going to go to the national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
I would love nothing more than that. I don't believe that I can say that. And I've tried 10 different ways. This defense at Notre Dame is better than Penn State's defense.
Agreed.
Drew, it pains me to say this out loud. Drew Aller's a better quarterback than Riley Leonard. He's a better quarterback than Riley Leonard. I don't know how else I can I can say that. I really don't. Here you go. Buddy of mine who works in sports media. Why are you giving this ass clown airtime? You've said that.
Jesus.
You've said the same thing over and over about Marcus Freeman and his lack of D on toes or ability to count to 10. I'm tired of hearing that, but never once have I heard you say that Notre Dame sucks or can't win the game. I've said the same.
Yeah.
The D on toes thing, my guy, the D on toes thing is a little much. Yeah. I've said Marcus Freeman can't count past 10. And I was really disappointed against Ohio State last year. But I also said, this is that win against Georgia is the first time I've seen him change his philosophy, his X and O's.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big piece of development. So am I picking Notre Dame to win this game? I can't find a way where I see them scoring more than a field goal better than Penn State. And the thing that really worries me is what happens when Riley Leonard gets hit, because he is going to have to stand in the pocket and deliver the football. And the thing that worries me more, Penn State is one of the elite backside pursuit defenses in college football. Those guys, say what you want about James Franklin, that defense doesn't stop running.
Yeah.
They're going to pursue that quarterback mercilessly. And Riley Leonard's a guy who, if you hit him and hit him and hit him, he's going to get hurt. He's shown you that in his career. What happens when he gets hurt in that game? Do I think Notre Dame can win the game? I do. Do I think they will? I don't. Because I don't trust Riley Leonard.
Formula is unchanged for Notre Dame. It's
Simple
unchanged.
as that.
If you're Notre Dame, you understand who Riley Leonard is, but at the same time, your defense has to put out. I can't say this enough. Like, your defense has to create turnovers. What did we see in the Georgia game? The Georgia game got unhinged when Notre Dame got the turnovers. And if they do that, they win. If they do not do that, they lose.
I want Notre Dame to win this game.
Yeah.
Desperately. But if you are any kind of Notre Dame fan, should we believe that they will? What would make us believe that they will? I think their defense is better than Penn State's defense.
Well, what I was going to say is what makes me think that they will win the game is I do think that they'll turn Drew Aller over. And I think that he's shown a willingness against the best defenses he's played to turn it over. And I also think he's not a huge arm quarterback. So when you're talking about, and I can't remember his name, highest ranked safety of all the college football playoff games last week being on Notre Dame's defense.
Aiden Schuler.
Yeah, Aiden Schuler. You're sitting here asking Drew to take shots against a defense that's got one of the best safeties in college football. And I'm just telling you, in these big games, you're talking about national TV, best defense in college football, and we expect the Penn State offense to somehow put out 21 points against his defense. Sorry, dude, I don't buy it. And so to me,
I don't think so either.
This comes right back to what I said and what we talked about with the Georgia game. You turn him over, you're going to be in a really great place. But if you don't create any extra possessions for Riley Leonard in that offense, you're going to struggle to win this game. And that's the hard part.
And I think if we can get RJ Oben, if we can get Jack Kaiser, certainly Junior Tuihalamaka is having a month of his life.
Yeah, that defense is playing their best football at the correct time.
Yeah,
there's no doubt.
And they are a very good defense at Notre Dame. D-Rock. I think D-Rock I don't know what D-Rock, you're probably our biggest Notre Dame fan in the comment section, but I haven't changed my mind at all. I want to see Young to run the ball at least a few times versus Penn State. You've got to find. Here's the problem with the running game right now is that I think if Jeremiah Love can't play, I think your best running game is Mitchell Evans, who is going to be an NFL tight end. You need to, if Jeremiah Love cannot play, you've got to throw. Mitchell Evans has to be just exponentially more a part of the offense.
Mm-hmm.
He cannot have 3 catches if Jeremiah Love is not going to be 75%. He's got to have 5-6 catches because he's a very good player.
And just for clarity on Jeremiah, just looking at the updates, the coverage from the guys who are at practice watching Notre Dame.
He wore a knee brace.
He wore a knee brace. Was absolutely practicing, but he's not able to. He's not 100% and not going to be close.
He can't. The problem is it's his right. I believe it's his right knee.
Yeah, it is.
The problem is that is his foot in the ground leg. So the left side of Notre Dame's offensive line has not been good for certainly during the playoffs. It's been the weak point.
Right.
He can't put his right foot in the ground and pivot to the B gap. And the offense at Notre Dame is predicated on winning the B gap. If you watch their biggest plays, they usually come through the B gap.
Yeah.
Us do not, our explosiveness does not come off the right edge. So that's what concerns me.
Yeah.
And I think your number 2 back is Jadarian Price, but he's probably your best option. Your best running back, I think, no matter what, is probably going to be Riley Leonard. But I'm telling you right now, Mitchell Evans has to be a huge part of the offense. There's just no other way to, you know what I mean? Like, there's no other way to spin it. Riley Leonard's got to throw the ball on the hash to Mitchell Evans. Has to. That's the Faison. I just don't think you have a quarterback to utilize Faison as much as you'd like.
Yeah.
I think pre-snap, you're going to have to motion guys. I think that quick little toss on motion is the sweeps. You're going to have to do that. Play action. The other thing is, are we going to have Riley Leonard under center, or are we going to do this stupid crap in the pistol that Notre Dame's been trying? Because I don't want anything to do with that. Why the pistol is a thing when you can't throw the ball down the field, I'll never understand the pistol offense when you have a quarterback who can't throw the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Because the pistol absolutely destroys play action. And Notre Dame needs play action. So, Salty, he fielded 10 men last year against Ohio State. And not once, multiple times. And again, what I've said about Marcus Freeman this year that has driven me crazy, how many times are we running an 11th guy onto the field or making a personnel change at the very last second? How many times has this elite defense been in the wrong formation when the ball is snapped? And it stopped largely in the playoff. You haven't seen. What drives me crazy is you'll have linebackers readjusting defensive linemen, or you'll have Tui Halamaka trying to like get inside, or you'll be moving guys around when the ball is snapped. Your Notre Dame too often has not been set and not been ready to fire when the offense snaps the ball. Notre Dame's defense has repeatedly during this season not been set and ready to fire when their offense snaps the ball. And they're still making big plays. So why has the defense gotten better? Because they're more well prepared. And I think schematically, the X's and O's of this defense have not changed a bit. What's changed? The focus pre-snap, the communication. You're looking at down ahead, so there's not as much shifting and personnel changing. And that's why this defense has been in much better position. Gap integrity has been far better. The Georgia game, if you go look at Georgia's attempts to run, I don't think I saw maybe 3 times a Notre Dame defensive back overrun an angle against Georgia. Maybe 3 times. You go back and you look at some of the biggest plays Notre Dame gave up. It is, and Jack Kaiser's guilty of this. It's Jack Kaiser taking far too aggressive of a line, and there's no way to stop the cutback. Or you just had these moments. We haven't seen that during the playoff, which is why I've said I've seen Marcus Freeman schematically and philosophically change into the deeper run here in the playoff. So we can sit here and we can go back and forth, but is what it is. Craig Kitchen, good morning. You say Ohio State Ryan Day doesn't show up for big games besides Michigan. I believe they have. Were they ready for clock management against Oregon? And I would remind you, there's only one game during the year that matters. And he doesn't win that game. And that's the Michigan game.
Yeah.
And he has not won that game. You can't repeatedly lose to Michigan. They win a national championship. You keep losing to them. They get decimated on the roster. You're one of the best teams in the country. and you lost to Michigan.
How?
You allow Michigan to plant a flag. How? And then the thing that makes me crazy about Ryan Day is then you show that team against Oregon. Where was that team against Michigan? Were you not jacked for the Michigan game? How did you show up like that last week against Oregon? And I'll ask the exact same question. How did you show up like that against Michigan?
That's what I'm saying. The week of preparation is where the problem is. It's not the day of.
I would agree with that. Feeling salty today? I am not. Stymie. If you actually watch Notre Dame play this year, you know the special teams offside versus Georgia was not a fluke. You know Leonard takes shots every week, and you know Love is perfectly fine. Well, we'll see. I
just think you have more faith than we do.
The special team, the trickery is not new. The execution, the attention to detail, that's what's new.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is not largely a different team. Notre Dame's not. The attention to detail in massive moments. That special teams play, and what we're talking about is Notre Dame's on the field to punt. They run the entire unit off the field. The offense comes back on. They're never snapping that football. But they draw Georgia offside to get the first down. The detail in that moment, and especially it's a pressure cooker moment, the detail is what had been missing in biggest moments. And when you don't play a tough schedule, as Notre Dame did not this year, you're living on that Ohio State 10 men on the field because it was repeatedly 10 men on the field, more than once. You're living on, like if you go back and you look at the penalty chart and you ask yourself, bro, like how is Bryce Young in the neutral zone more than once against Georgia? How is he in the neutral zone? Not once, but twice that game.
How many times are you going to run into the kicker, bro?
How many times is he going to run into the kicker? Not once, twice. Those are the little things that you're like, okay, we're seeing development, and we are seeing development. And we're seeing the details get cleaned up. But you're still room to be better. This team has to dominate defensively and on special teams.
And I think they will against Penn State.
I
think Penn State's offense is not lethal enough to overcome that defense.
I agree with that.
Now, my problem is I think Notre Dame beats Penn State. I think there's a chance they beat them by 10 points because they're going to get points off turnovers. And then the problem is if you get to the national championship game, I think there's a chance you lose by 10 because you're going to play an offense that is just simply the best offense you've seen all year.
And so, I'll just continue to say what I've said about Notre Dame. And then I want to take your comments because I talk too much. This defense is physical. We tackle better than any other defense in the country. Notre Dame, and I shouldn't say it out loud, Notre Dame doesn't miss tackles.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame is fast. They're secondary. They're linebackers. They all play downhill. And you've seen them clean up the angles and the aggressiveness to the gap, not past the gap, right? This is all going to come down to Riley Leonard's ability to throw the football beyond 7 yards. That's how you're going to win or lose a game. Because defensively, we're going to show up. We're going to be in the right place. We're going to make big plays. I think we're going to hit Aller.
We show up.
I think you're right. I think if Notre Dame scores a defensive touchdown, Penn State's going to have an impossible time winning the game. But all that is predicated on Riley Leonard completing the ball beyond 7 yards.
And I still don't want to forget, because it didn't really show itself too much in the Georgia game. Riley Leonard tends to play really tight football in the first 3 possessions. He tends to, they're again, to what Stymie said, quote, if you've watched Notre Dame football this year, you damn well know that he squeezes early in the game until he gets settled.
And no, Jordan Love is not Jeremiah Love is not perfectly fine.
No.
If you've watched Notre Dame football, why is he wearing a brace? And I'm pretty certain you saw what I saw. Homeboy tried to cut back to the left off that right foot. His knee collapsed, and he didn't come back in the game.
Yep.
Shows up at practice this week, or at least the video that I watched in practice, with a brace on that right knee.
And unable to plant.
If he was perfectly fine, why is he wearing a brace on his right knee?
Now, it's commendable to be wearing a brace and probably have a ruptured ACL in your knee. That's commendable. I respect dude for that. I think that's phenomenal. I think that Jeremiah is everything you want a running back to be.
8.1 yards per carry against the best teams they saw this year.
So what you're not going to see him do this week, in my opinion, is you're not going to see him catching balls in the flat this week. You're not going to see them asking him to do things that are incredibly athletic and require him to be out on the edge, leveraging his body. You're going to see him running power concepts in the A and the B gap, and that will be the extent of his use, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because he's limited with the knee.
Because I don't watch Notre Dame football. What did I just say?
Yeah. I mean, the penalties were, and again,
big penalties.
Again, you also had, and it needs to be said, and I know we talked about it last week, but the bye week Russ situation, you had 10 penalties, and Georgia didn't really take advantage of them. That's not going to happen with Penn State. You had 10 penalties, 12 penalties against Penn State. That's going to be a problem for you.
Yeah. WW. I think Ohio State's the best team this season. Right now, I would agree. But what? But I desperately want to see Texas win just so I can enjoy the meltdown over Ryan Day among them.
That's what I'm talking about. See, that's that proper energy right there. I'm here for that.
Okay, and one of the reasons that I love Ohio State fans so much is there is actual analytical emotion. It's not just, oh, Will Howard farted in the meeting, we're done. Like it's you want to know the example of this? I said on the show that it really bothered me that Ryan Day didn't pull Jack Kaiser off, or didn't pull his name just went right out of my head. Didn't pull his players off the field and didn't do more. I don't know, win the game to stop Michigan from planting the flag.
Yeah.
And Ohio State fans showed up in the comments section and said he should be fired. He should never coach the playoffs. And I agree with that. If I had been the athletic director at Ohio State, there's a real good chance I'd have had a pack your shit and get out conversation with Ryan Day after that Michigan game. Because it doesn't matter.
Pack everything up. We're out of here.
It doesn't matter what you do. If you can't beat Michigan, you didn't have the season you should have had. You're exponentially better than Michigan this year, and you still lost at home.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. The problem is you don't have today's day and age in college football doesn't allow you to just fire guys like Ryan Day because they lost to Michigan.
Jack Sawyer, thank you.
Yeah, Jack Sawyer.
God,
the problem is that, and I've been saying this since the beginning of the season, Ryan Day makes you so much damn money that he can afford to lose to Michigan every year, and he won't get fired because of that. Because everyone wants to hold this $20 million NIL number over Ryan Day's head. How do you think they're able to afford $20 million a year?
And easily afford it.
Oh, that's right. Because he's one of the most winningest coaches in the program's history. He's one of the best coaches in college football.
Because there's expectations every year. Because he takes you
again,
not far enough, but far enough.
Yeah. And so Ohio State fan, I empathize. I get it. You're in the worst spot in sports. We always talk about it with several different teams. Hey, you're in the playoff every year.
You're good. You're not great.
You're just not over the hump yet. And no, it does not help that last year Michigan won a national championship. It doesn't help the conversation.
No, it doesn't.
So I think for Ryan Day's sake, I would agree with the people who are saying, hey, this is his best chance in 5 years to win a national championship. And I agree with what you said. The versus the Longhorns is the national championship game.
Yep.
And I think whoever wins that game is going to go on to win a national championship, and they're going to go on to win it handily. And so I'm just telling you guys, this is the one for Ryan Day. Show up like you did against Oregon. Bring that heat. Bring that energy. I haven't heard, and maybe I missed it. I haven't looked, but I want to see more junk out of Jeremiah Smith. I want to see him talking, because he talked, then they went and backed it up. And Oregon did exactly what Jeremiah Smith said they would do. They played man coverage on him, and he burned them repeatedly. So that's the kind of energy I think Ohio State has to bring to this Texas game.
Yep.
And I think that, for Notre Dame fan, you can spend your time worrying about Jeremiah Love's knee and Riley Leonard's shortcomings, or you can focus on how to win the game. Winning the game is create turnovers on defense, be disciplined on offense, and you're going to be just fine. Like that. That's all you have to do against Penn State.
And all I'm saying is these two defenses are very close, especially against the run. And Penn State loves to run the football. And I would just point out, the best defense, in my opinion, left against the run is Ohio State. I think the best total defense is Texas. I think the second best total defense, Notre Dame or Ohio State, and I think it's really close.
Well, the way I would put it is, which defenses are playing the best football? Yeah, Ohio State's defense had a nice day against Oregon, but I think when you look at like gritty games, yeah, I think Notre Dame's defense is the best defense left in the playoff, and I only say that because Texas's defense was very questionable in the ASU game. There were multiple times where I was like, hey, like what was the thought running, zero there? What was the thought? Like, what are we doing here or there that led to these big plays? And that's where I say my gut tells me that Ohio State's going to beat Texas by 10 points. I think they're going to find opportunities. They're going to hit on those opportunities. And they're going to be fine. But that Ryan Day conversation haunts me making that pick. I am terrified of them showing up and falling flat on their face like they did with Oregon.
Yeah, we'll see. Notre Dame gives up a far more yards passing the football than they do against the run. Like it worries me. And we'll obviously, I'm with you. I don't think Drew Aller's a world beater, but Notre Dame's corners are going to have a game. And if you can stop the run, and if you can force Penn State to throw the football, and I think you will. If you can force them to do that, I think you're going to be in a much better spot. And the thing that worries you is, and I'll just continue to tell Notre Dame fans this, if you think that Penn State's at 13-2 is going to roll over, Penn State didn't come this far just to come this far. The problem is, obviously, Penn State hasn't played anybody.
Right.
SMU and Boise State, come on, man.
Yeah, and by the way, we're sitting here talking about Ryan Day having pressure. This is James Franklin's best look at a national championship in how long? For the first time, Michigan's down. Didn't have to run through Oregon. Like, you've got an opportunity here. So if I'm Notre Dame, I'm gonna watch the Ohio State tape versus Penn State. That's the game I'm keying on. That's the game where I'm like, hey, Ohio State's defense is just as fast and talented as our defense. What did Penn State try to do? That's the game I'm looking at.
And Drew Aller in that game was 12 of 20, 146 with a pick. And
no tutties.
I'd remind you that the leading rusher of note, I mean, obviously Tyler Warren,
right?
But that was one trick play. But Drew Aller was the leading rusher for Penn State in that game. And I love Keytron Allen and Nick Singleton. We've talked about that on the show. They have seen one other defense like this Notre Dame defense, and it's Ohio State. And I actually think Notre Dame's a better tackling defense than Ohio State is.
Sure.
I think Notre Dame's the best tackling defense in the country, but that's just me. Let's see. Zayden S for $5. Pedo State can only beat teams that are more talented than if it comes to coaching. Ohio State looks like they are ready to be crowned. And I don't disagree with that. This Texas game is the world. This Texas game.
Show again. Just do it again. That's all you have to do. If you do it against Texas, I'm telling you, Monday when we get back and do the show, everybody and their mom is going to be in the comments section saying Ohio State's on the fast track to win the national championship because, hey, you beat Oregon. I mean, look at the run they would have had to have gone on here. What is it? Tennessee, Oregon, and then Texas.
I mean that's correct.
You're not going to question Ryan Day if he does that.
And yet Penn State, SMU, Boise State, Notre Dame, and likely Ohio State.
Yeah. So
you have faced 3 non-lethal offenses and 1 juggernaut in Ohio State at that point.
Dude, if we get Ohio State, Penn State for a national championship,
oh my God.
I mean, that's just,
Has the number on Ohio State, that Ohio State line with Texas moved at all? Or is it's 5. It opened at 5. It's now 5.5.
Man, I think that's proper.
It is now 5.5. So, and you can get it.
Where do they play that game at again?
The composite is actually 6. That'll be at the Cotton Bowl. So it'll be in Arlington. So the composite on that game is still 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see, man.
Yep.
We'll see. It is to play that game in the Cotton Bowl.
Home field advantage
At Jarrah World is a huge advantage for them. So yeah, the composite is still 6.
Yeah.
Notre Dame before the show, Notre Dame moved to 2.5. So we shall see. Penn State lucked out because they did not have to play Michigan this year. Way to be on brand.
Nice job, dude.
Good to see
Appreciate
you. Salty says Notre Dame has faced the best running QB in the country and has stopped them all. So are we talking about Army, Navy? Aller has no chance to run against them for profit. It's not for profit that I'm worried about. Drew Aller can actually throw the ball. And this mythical rise of Drew Aller has happened against SMU and Boise State. If he does it against Notre Dame's going to lose a game. Because if Drew Aller carries their offense, Tyler Warren's having a big game, and the secondary is not focused on the run. They're focused on Tyler Warren. And this secondary should be able to cover Tyler Warren man over or single up. We'll see. Let's see what happens. Delaric, Notre Dame beats Penn State. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Notre Dame minus 2.5. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Do I have that wrong on the graphic? I thought I changed that before the show. Where's the graphic?
The Chiron.
I'm blind. I can't. There it is right there. Penn State, Notre Dame, 2.5, 46.5.
Yeah.
So we shall see. Gunnar Stockton is a dual threat. He is. Notre Dame, listen. Notre Dame is elite at the line of scrimmage and against the run. The biggest weakness in Notre Dame's defense is the secondary. That's not a secret.
Yeah,
I think we all know that.
I think Gunnar Stockton's day against Notre Dame is a testament to their defense. I do think Gunnar Stockton's a dual threat quarterback. He showed you that in that game. He did run, but he just had a really tough day against that defense.
But what did he do? What did he do that should worry those of us that care about the beloved? He threw for 234 yards in his first game ever. That's a little concerning that he had that kind of production. And a lot of that was Arian Smith. I totally understand it. Okay, great. But it's a little concerning that he threw for 234 yards. His net was 234, 252 total. Yeah. Riley Leonard was 15-24 for 90 yards, and he averaged 3.8 yards of completion.
What was the possession numbers like, though?
Like time of possession?
Yeah, time of possession, yeah.
Time of possession, what? Hello. 32 minutes, essentially, for Notre Dame, 28 minutes for Georgia.
Yeah. I mean.
And why is that?
Running the football.
Because Notre Dame averaged 4.2 yards of possession, or a carry, and ran for 154 yards.
So.
That's why.
Just saying.
So this is the stupidest argument ever. Anybody arguing that Notre Dame is an elite offense needs their head examined.
Notre Dame, our mother.
I don't think you guys can tell me I'm crazy about Notre Dame. I totally disagree with you. Totally disagree. Lisa Sims, hello. If Ohio State wins the Natty, we don't care about the Michigan game any longer. Yeah, you do. Because at some point you got to
care about
Michigan.
it every year. Yeah. The problem this year is you should have beat the hell out of Michigan. That should have been like a 40-10 embarrassment.
And I know guys like Ferris and every other Michigan fan lose their mind when I say this. It had nothing to do with Michigan.
Yeah.
Ohio State showed up ill-prepared and not ready to play that game.
Bad things happen.
Didn't show up. The Cotton Bowl home field for Texas. Let's just hope we don't have another bottle situation if things get ugly. I don't think you will.
Bottle situation.
Sean Rollins. Looks like the Bears have asked permission to talk to Mike McCarthy. Indeed, we did.
Yeah, Sean,
we did
you're
the
late,
first
bro.
45 minutes of the show on that, but I think it's a really big point.
Yeah.
It is, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. Gunnar Stockton was very good. He'll be special for Georgia. He wasn't able to overcome Notre Dame's defense, though. But my point is, if Drew Aller, who's more prepared, and I think a really good pre-snap quarterback, if Drew Aller has a similar game to Gunnar Stockton, who wins, Penn State or Notre Dame? Say it out loud. If Penn State has 252 passing yards,
that means
against
that
Notre
you
Dame,
stop the run.
I think Penn State wins. You've got to keep him, and I know it sounds astronomical, but you've got to keep him under 200 yards passing. And I think the magic number is 175. And you've got to force them to run the ball 2.3.
Yeah.
2.5.
Yep.
You've got to do that. Tua Halamaka's got to have a repeat performance with multiple TFLs. Multiple. You've got to hit Drew Aller. That's what you have to do. But
the kicker, obviously.
But don't hit the kicker. Let me get this right. So you got a penalty the first time when you almost blew his
Stay hard
off by running into the punter.
Yeah.
So then you did it again? Have we learned nothing? That
doesn't make you feel responsible.
Jaden, now Ohio State can't mentally deal with Michigan. How do you argue with
that conversation?
How do you even argue with that? I think you're exactly right.
Agreed.
Stymie, how many of those passing yards are fourth quarter garbage time? In the playoffs, there's no such thing as fourth quarter garbage time. There is no such thing as fourth quarter garbage time. That does not exist in the playoff.
I don't know. I'm just not that worried about him going off against Notre Dame's defense, dude. I think that Penn State's going to run the ball. And if you stop the run, that causes chaos for their offense because then he's forced to just stand back there. And if he's just standing back there, in obvious passing situations, you're going to run, obviously single high safety. And you're going to be right in your prime defense. Like I'm not that worried about Penn State's offense. I'm concerned about Notre Dame's offense and how they're going to overcome.
Yes, you should be.
You're not healthy. That's the problem. Like if Jeremiah Love was healthy and he had a fully functioning ACL in that right knee, then I'd be like, yeah, okay, we're in a great place here. We'll run the football. Everything's fine. But I just think if we're talking about Penn State's offense, we're misguided. Focus on Notre Dame's offense.
A really good friend of mine is texting me, this is why I hate Notre Dame fans. You haven't changed your opinion once. Frustratingly so. I have not changed my opinion once.
Yeah.
Riley Leonard will determine how far this team goes. His ability to throw the football beyond 7 yards. If he's going to average 3.8 yards per attempt, Notre Dame's going to lose. It's that simple. And anybody who thinks Jeremiah Love wearing a knee brace is no big deal and he's totally fine.
That's no problem. What's the big deal?
It is what it is. It is what it is. Okay. Let's mix it up a little bit. I'm happy to go back to the Chicago Bears. I am happy to go to this Fox Sports conversation, which is probably where we should go.
Yeah, we need to talk about that.
What do you even say about this? I don't listen. I think we've made it pretty clear. Here's something my opinion hasn't changed on. Fox Sports sucks. FS1 sucks. No Monties. I've told you on this show repeatedly, I don't watch Fox Sports. I don't watch FS1. I occasionally will see Cowherd in a clip here on TikTok, or I don't watch their show routinely. I can tell you I've never seen Skip Bayless on FS1. That's why this story right here is so grotesque to me. If you don't know the story, a hairdresser has filed a multi-million-dollar lawsuit against Fox Sports claiming sexual harassment. In the center of that lawsuit is Skip Bayless. And the allegations are heinous. The most mundane of them are that Skip Bayless allegedly partook in a pattern of sexual harassment against a hairdresser who repeatedly rebuffed his advances, and at one point said to Skip Bayless, Skip, I'm not interested. You're married and so am I. To which Skip Bayless allegedly said, you're Muslim, and made a joke about how your men in your life have multiple wives. And at one point, allegedly, Skip Bayless offered this hairdresser $1.5 million for sexual acts. And who is surprised by this? Now, is this fact? It is not. These are all filings in a lawsuit that also mentions Joy Taylor, the female who is a prominent voice in sports at FS1. I don't care if you like Joy Taylor as an analyst, a talk show host. I simply don't care because it doesn't matter. Joy Taylor is a woman who deserves more respect than she is getting. Joy Taylor gets disrespected simply because she's a woman. But the allegations against Joy Taylor in this lawsuit are pretty significant. It is alleged that Joy Taylor told this hairdresser, who went to Joy Taylor and said, hey, Skip Bayless is doing this. Joy Taylor told her, allegedly, get over it. To which Jason Whitlock went on Twitter yesterday and talked about Joy Taylor's rack and peanut butter skin, which is exactly what's wrong with women in sports and the way men view women in sports. I'm not surprised by any of this. Do I believe that this happened? I think there's a real good chance this happened. Do I know? Is it a fact? It's not. This is all information coming out of a lawsuit filed against Fox. One of their executives is also named in this suit. But am I surprised to hear that Skip Bayless is the center of a sexual harassment lawsuit? I'm really not. Am I surprised to hear that there is a garbo environment and culture of anti-women and sexual harassment in the building at Fox? I'm really not. Is this the first time we've heard this? No. Roger Ailes and Fox News have been plagued by these suits. Am I surprised that somebody like Joy Taylor said, get over it? I'm shocked. Because I think women in sports, especially women of color, I think minority women, I think women who are behind the scenes, having worked in this industry, this is not the first time. If this actually happened, this is not the first time I've heard this. And frankly, I've seen things that have always bothered me. But that's the culture in sports. So, Jake, should we be surprised by these allegations?
I mean, I don't think you should ever be surprised when someone takes it this far, and meaning someone's, this hairdresser has obviously filed this suit, is making these allegations, and felt so compelled to do so. So, am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. I mean, obviously, I'm a big believer that when someone is suing on the personal level, when it's one person versus a couple of people, let's say, that where there's smoke, there was probably some fire at some point. I just think that's how people work. Like she wouldn't be suing you if there wasn't at least some uncomfortable or unwanted behavior taking place on some level. So I think, I'm not really surprised that this happened. I think what's really interesting, if you kind of zoom out a little bit and you look at the timeline specifically with Skip, obviously he's not at Fox anymore. And that was all like we all understood that to be that the Shannon Sharp fallout happened. And that show just never really recovered. And, Fox was like, hey, we need to move on from Skip, and we're just going to kind of rebrand. And
it makes you wonder, were they aware of these allegations?
Right. And so that's kind of what I'm getting to is like, hey, maybe the whole Skip leaving Fox situation is more connected to this than connected to people just not watching the show.
Well, and I also think the allegations about Joy Taylor, using sex to gain position, it's abhorrent. It's terrible. It is what's wrong. Did she do that? I don't know if she did that. I hope she did not do that.
Yeah, I think the problem for Joy here from a PR standpoint, just from like an image, how people view you standpoint, is, and you can go find all this on Twitter. It's readily available. It's all over the place. There is a ton of pictures and images with her and Emmanuel Acho in more private settings. So when I say private, what I mean is like there's a picture specifically of Emmanuel and her sitting on the couch with drinks at her place, allegedly. He doesn't have shoes on. People are saying that that's them being involved. And what I'm saying is that I don't know what that picture means or what any of the pictures means, but what I can tell you is people now view Joy in a certain light. And that's a problem for her. And I do think, to your point, when people start suing each other, it's going to go one of two ways in court. You're going to bring this suit and you're going to have evidence and proof, which she claims she has. The hairdresser claims she has evidence of this behavior through text messages and different things. So if that's the case, then maybe we're headed right back down the Trevor Bauer scenario where we've got it all in writing. And if that happens, this is a huge problem for the folks at Fox.
And I think the Joy Taylor, Emmanuel Acho thing is a terrible look, because Emmanuel Acho posted a video several months ago and then deleted it talking about Joy Taylor. And then the pictures that you referenced all came out. Here's the video that Acho deleted.
And I got to take a moment to shout out my co-host, Joy Taylor. A woman, a black woman, daily show, sports. Do you all realize how hard it is to get into the position that she is in? So often there's misogyny and sexism running rampant in sports, and we don't even care what women have to say in sports. But Joy is not only in the position on television as a woman, as a black woman, but as an opinionist. So not just asking men what they think, but providing her own unique and distinct insight. It's hard to do, and Joy, you have done it. So congratulations. Looking forward to working with you.
Why did you delete that video?
It's a great question.
Because I think it's spot on. Do you understand, first of all, how difficult it is to be a woman working in sports? You are judged on everything but your ability to talk about sports. You're judged on your hair, your makeup, your outfit, your physical attributes. Then add into you're a black woman working in sports. Then add into that she does not try to hide her physical attributes. She dresses in a manner that I think as men,
she embraces her gifts. Let's put it that way.
But the problem is most men can't control themselves. Again, I go back to that dirtbag Jason Whitlock.
Agreed.
Who literally said, I know what I'm capable of, so I stayed away. And talked about her physical attributes and her peanut butter skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, sadly, too many men have that thought process in their minds. I think too many men have those feelings on the tip of their tongue and on their fingertips, because we don't view women as human beings. We view them as sex objects.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we get lawsuits like this, because certainly the hairdresser is here for sex, not to do my hair and makeup. That's what this lawsuit says.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's sad that that's where we are in sports. And I think it's sad that when you get to this point, when you're this hairdresser and you file this lawsuit, you've already tried to remedy this in-house.
Mm-hmm.
And you got no relief. And so you went outside and you sued. Because the other thing that's unspoken is, do you think this lady ever works in TV again?
No.
This hairdresser, it's over. She will forever be marked as a problem.
Blacklisted.
When she's not the problem, Skip Bayless allegedly was the problem.
Well, and I think what's really incredible too, is there are brief mentions of Colin Cowherd in this suit about how Colin is respectable and a good dude and treat people the right way. And what's amazing about that to me is that obviously Joy was on his show for a long time. And she's right in the middle of this thing with Acho and company and Drip Bayless. And Colin's just over here doing his show. I'm not a huge Colin guy. Like, I think, obviously he's been doing a show a long time. Respect to him. It's great. I don't particularly love his show. But I just think it's amazing when we talk about workplace issues like this that his co-host at one point or whatever we're calling her on his show, whatever that title is just wrapped up in this thing and just right in the middle of this thing. And if I'm Colin, I wouldn't be commenting either. I would just continue to do my show, stay in my lane, and stay the hell away from this stuff.
Yeah, I think when stories like this come up, you get exposed. And I think guys like Jason Whitlock, who are the dregs of society, I think guys like Whitlock, who are the worst of men, they tell you who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And when people tell you who they are, you should agree with them. You should say, yep, that's who you are. Oh, that's who you are? Okay, that's who you are. Know that about Jason Whitlock. Know that about, and this is why when I say, hey, are you surprised about this lawsuit? I'm not surprised by it. I think that's who Skip Bayless is. I think he has always struck me as not a happy human. Not a happy guy. Guys like that, it just doesn't surprise me. And it's really disappointing to me that we find ourselves in a place where you can't look at somebody and judge them based on their merits and judge them based on their professionalism. And Jason Whitlock is just, he repeatedly tells you.
He says dumb things over and over and over
repeatedly.
Again. Yeah. Yep.
They tell you who they are. And it's wild to me. And the crazier part of this is, how much money does Skip Bayless have that he's offering somebody $1.5 million for a sex act?
Yeah.
More allegedly. Money than he needs. Allegedly. That's the crazy part of this.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Geoff, what's going on, dude? Sup, guys? Long time. Whoa, boy. We talking about Joy Taylor, spicy morning. Skip Bayless is the worst person on television, if no one said it yet, who used to be on television.
Right.
He's not on television.
Yeah, I just think that I think that stuff like this just reinforces the idea that sports talk at Fox is just not good. And the problem is
relevant.
Yeah, it's just not. I'm not going there for any of that stuff. And I'm sure they've got some level of audience that watches them and everything, and that's cool. But I gotta tell you, like I'm watching ESPN, or I'm just not real interested in what anyone else is really doing. And that's
you've got me back on the Jim Rome bandwagon. I occasionally watch Pat. I watch Jim Rome 2-3 times a week. I never watch FS1. And I just...
Yeah. I think the thing, and this is what I always say about Jim. Jim's not the best show out there. He's not, by no stretch of the imagination. But I think what Jim and others have done a good job of is staying out of the mess, just doing what they do, being reliable, playing the long game. And that's what he's done. And he finds himself in a solid position. And this is what I've said about Pat's show. But and this is what we said about Skip Bayless' show for a long time, is that if there's drama and there's situations, notice it's been a quiet several months during the football season for Pat. Notice we're not getting any drama on Pat's show. outside of
It's really Aaron Rodgers and Ryan Clark.
And that's it. And I wouldn't even say Pat's only involvement in that is that he allows Aaron to say that on his show. But it's not like Pat's been running his mouth saying things.
No.
Like he was. So that's why I'm telling you, like, the silence around Pat's show speaks volumes about ESPN's ability to reel things in and get people in line in agreement for the vision of the network. Like, and Fox just isn't able to do that.
And I go back to what when these situations happen, talk to your sons and daughters about this. I'm telling you, talk to your sons and daughters about this, because you don't want your sons to grow up to be like the Skip Baylesses and the Jason Whitlocks of the world. And you don't want your daughters subjected to what this hairdresser is alleging. Empower your children. Empower them to grow up to be fully functional, unencumbered adults. And it's frustrating to me. Eric Wasikowski, New Year, Monty, let the Whitlock thing go.
Yeah, and
Whitlock thing?
We're saying that Whitlock is
he
is
said
not
this
a great guy
2 days ago.
Yeah.
What do you mean, New Year, let the Whitlock thing go? He is not a good dude.
Yeah.
Not this year, not last year, not the year before, and not next year. There is no let the Whitlock thing go. What does that even mean? Delaric, the only FS1 show I have on is Cowherd. It's great for background noise. There is rarely something that comes up where I look over to pay attention, sadly. Brandon Butler, hello. When you court controversy, eventually you will end up married to it, and then it becomes your end.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you look at a lot of guys like Whitlock's a perfect example. Where's he working now? Where's he on TV? Where's he writing? I don't know how many people know this. When Jason Whitlock was a newspaper columnist in Kansas City, he was one of the most important voices in the country. And I think he was on Fox at one point.
He was.
Now where is he? Not on Fox and not writing for newspapers. Race Hub was the only show I watched. Well, Fox and NASCAR. He's talking about NASCAR.
I think I separate those two. So like shows like Race Hub or like, Big Noon Kickoff or, the event.
I don't look at Joel Klatt like I look at.
Yeah. Like I think those are different. When I say I don't watch Fox, what I mean is I'm not watching the Talking Head show at 10 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday. Like I'm not interested in that product from Fox.
Bro, you hire the caliber of people that Fox hires, you get what you deserve. You hire a guy like Craig Carton.
Yeah.
Fresh off of felony prison time. You hire guys like Skip Bayless. Maybe Shannon was right.
Yeah.
Maybe Shannon got out for a reason. Right? It's crazy to me. Mayor McCluskey, morning. What did I miss? Well, you missed Notre Dame. I apparently think Notre Dame sucks. So apparently this is now an Ohio State show.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
You missed the Bears. You can continue to comment on Fox Sports. Happy to do it. What do you guys think about the Chicago Bears asking permission to interview Mike McCarthy? Because I think this is a really interesting turn of events. Really, have you changed your opinion at all? What do you think about this?
I mean, I think that I'm with you on.
You just sighed.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Them looking at Mike as an out of the box concept and maybe caught some people by surprise. And for that reason alone, it's not a bad thing. It clearly shows that they're open to all possibilities. The hard part for me is that I'm not sold that Mike is the best solution for them. That hiring him, a lot of people call this a retread hire. And I understand that. I can respect that opinion. This is someone who's been in the league, 25, 30 years, obviously a ton of experience. And that experience would, most likely be beneficial to a young quarterback and in the situation the Bears are in. But, the thing that I really struggle with here with the potential hiring of Mike McCarthy would be that I don't know that he brings the kind of energy that you're looking for. I think that Mike is an accomplished head coach in the NFL. He's won a Super Bowl. He's done everything you would want to do in the league and has been through basically every situation you could be in. But what he doesn't have, in my opinion, is that younger 30 to 50-year-old energy, that 30 to 45-year-old guy, the Cliff Kingsbury age guy. He doesn't have the same perspective and outlook because he's older and he's been in the league a while. So could he do some good things? Yes. But I'm just not sold that Mike is somehow this great hire for the Bears. It would be a solid hire, but I think it would be exaggerating to say it's some great hire.
Yeah. And when we look at this conversation based on what the Bears should do, I'll continue to tell you, I think Mike McCarthy is actually forward thinking. Again, I think the best candidate should be Cliff Kingsbury. Whatever this issue is with Ben Johnson, and if you're just tuning in, we were talking about this conversation around Ben Johnson.
Yeah.
That Ben Johnson interviewed for 6 jobs. Didn't take any of them. And by all accounts, was offered jobs. Didn't take any of them. Now this year, he's only interviewing, he says, for jobs that he's serious about taking. So you took interviews that you weren't serious about, which is something that people in this league hate.
Hello. I don't know what that was.
I have no idea what that was.
Is that your phone?
Noises in the studio again.
That was weird.
I don't know what that was.
Anyway.
Ben Johnson interviewed for jobs he had no intention of taking. Now, this year, he says he's only interviewing for jobs he wants or has the intention. He is interviewing with the intention of winning the job. Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator in Detroit. So he is taking interviews with Chicago and New England. Those are the only 2 job interviews he is said to be seriously considering because he wants both of those jobs. There is also a lot of talk that Ben Johnson is a guy who is asking questions about autonomy, control, roster construction. You're an offensive coordinator with no head coaching experience. Should you be talking about autonomy? He said the number one thing he's looking for is synergy between the coaching staff and the front office. The front office and ownership, which apparently in Chicago you have. New England, that's up for grabs. Who's running that team? We don't know. But it seems interesting that there are now questions about, is he an odd guy? And people are comparing him to Josh McDaniels, the former Patriot, Raider coach, Bronco coach, who's not in the league right now. There just seems to be some oddity with him.
Right.
If you're going to hire an inexperienced guy, Ben Johnson's probably the guy. Here's the problem with that in Chicago now. The veterans on that team, Keenan Allen and DJ Moore most, publicly, have both said they want an experienced coach who understands leadership. Because when Ebersucks left the Bears, one thing certainly happened. That locker room transformed and the players began really leading that ship forward, especially in accountability. The Tyreek Stevenson situation where he was benched. And when I say benched, it's not they didn't play. He didn't start. And he played rotational reps. And I think that was for 2 weeks. And then you look at the way he ended the season after he got his starting spot back. He earned it back. And he played exceptionally well and way better than he played under Eberflus. So the players certainly seem to have a leadership component there. They're asking for a veteran coach. Does Cliff Kingsbury fit that bill? Well, he's got coaching experience. And he certainly is a player's coach. There's no doubt about that with Cliffy.
Yeah.
Does Mike McCarthy fit that bill? To a T. Because notice the only player that he's had trouble with is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Because reportedly in Dallas, Mike McCarthy has a fine relationship with his locker room. He is very much like Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco, and that Kyle knows when to stay out and when to be in. The Bears didn't hire Jim Harbaugh last year and fire Matt Eberflus, mainly because Jim Harbaugh does not have good relationships with his players. At least at the NFL level, he has struggled to build a bridge from the coach's office to the locker room. And we've seen that repeatedly.
Right.
That's why the Bears allegedly didn't hire Jim Harbaugh. So isn't that Cliff Kingsbury and Mike McCarthy? I think it is. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see where the Bears go.
Yeah, cool. Totally agree.
I think that will be very interesting to see what happens. Brandon Butler, Skip Pervin Whitlock. Fox has a reputation they are looking for.
Agreed.
And Craig Carton fits into that. Jay McClanahan, hello. The Bears need to go get Ben Johnson. He wouldn't be, I think would he be a blameless choice? I think you couldn't fault Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren for hiring him.
Yeah, I think the problem is just, if it flames, people won't forget these interview issues.
Yes. Fat Jesus. Women are more than objects to be desired. Hey, by the way, when is Mrs. Monty coming back on the show? Exactly. I think it's due diligence. The Bears need to hire a stable coach who knows what they're doing. Not my first or even fifth choice, but you got to kick the tires on the beater deal. I think you do. I agree. Stymie, does this prompt Jerry to throw cash at McCarthy before he can visit Chicago?
No. If he wanted to extend him, he would have already.
What is Jerry doing?
Beginning the rebuild. That's what he's doing.
Dude, what are you doing?
I'm telling you, this is step one.
Mayor Caruso, the Bears should go after John Fox.
Right.
He also says the Bears should go after Bobby Saleh.
Right.
Not funny. The Bears, the Monty Ghost is back, Mike Chase says.
That was weird.
I don't know what that.
I think that was like a electronic voice talking.
Yeah, I don't know. AI is real.
Yeah.
Jay McClanahan, wasn't there an old lady ghost at the studio last year? Not last year, last month. And I haven't seen that. My wife thinks I'm crazy, but there's been a couple of times where I have seen an older woman walking around the studio. And again, when you do construction and you build a studio, and you tend to wake the echoes, if you will.
Yeah.
I don't know. Eric Wasikowski, I agree with Jake. I don't think he leaves. Ben Johnson, you mean?
Yeah, I think he stays.
If you get if he interviews in New England,
I mean, yeah, the New England opportunity, I think, is one that he would covet a lot. But
yes, you should.
Yeah,
Drake May has proven himself to be a good quarterback. You're not going to find outside of ownership, because Kevin Warren's a good businessman.
Yeah,
Ryan Poles is a good talent evaluator. He's drafted well, he's traded well, and he's signed well. You're not going to find a better football situation for a first-time head coach than the Bears.
Totally agree.
But if you're looking for a gig, you're going to have a ton of cap space in New England. You've got a franchise quarterback, it would seem. You could probably do worse than that. So, Salty says Dallas is always in rebuilding mode. Just really stupid.
I would say churn mode. They're always churning talent. They're never rebuilding. They're always going after the Super Bowl, but they're always churning talent.
Terrible cap management there.
Yeah.
YouTube user Salty Virginia Peanuts. Wake the Echoes, Monty. That's very Notre Dame-esque. Sorry, I didn't mean it. I know I hate Notre Dame.
Well, and you filter everyone's comments, so
What a weird show today.
Yeah.
Mayor Caruso. Think of the worst coach available, and that's who the Bears will go after.
Hey, you start talking shit.
You do. But here's the thing, and I have hope. The Bears seem to be doing business differently these days.
Yeah, hopium's a hell of a thing, huh?
Shut up. You're such a dick. You're such a jerk. Hopium. Man. The Bears.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Let's see if I can find a vein here, because the Bears seem to be doing business different these days. You're such
Oh.
hopium. You've been waiting on that one, haven't you?
I've been waiting on that one.
God, I hate you sometimes. That was so good. We ask, WTF is Jared doing every damn year,
Dude.
every damn day?
I'm telling you.
Brandon Butler, and it's pronounced Goat Redame. Yes, it is.
Right.
I want it so badly.
They're going to beat Penn State, dude. And as far as the Bears are concerned, I really, truly, speaking of hopium,
Who do you think who do they hire?
I think they'll hire Cliff Kingsbury. I think they will. But if I'm them, Cliff and Mike are my two top targets.
If they hire Cliff Kingsbury, do you want to split Bears season tickets?
I mean, I would consider it.
I'd be stoked if they hired Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
I would be beyond stoked.
Yeah.
I really would. I think it is.
We'll see.
I think it's very interesting that, yeah. Funny, a friend of mine texted me, where is Bobby Slowick? Not a big name in the coaching ranks this year. I don't know. If you're this is my point about Ben Johnson. You're as hot as you're ever going to be.
Yeah, you're messing it up right now.
Right? You've turned Jared Goff into a Heisman Trophy winning Super Bowl champion.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. Right? Like, you guys understand this is historically good for Detroit. You've got full control of the offense. You've got a coach who's given it to you. You've built players. You're a developer of quarterback. Your run schemes. You're like
all of it.
Your wide receiver depth, like everything you want in a football coach on offense. We've seen it in Detroit this year. If you don't take a job now, and if you're a Detroit Lions fan, do you want Ben Johnson to take a head coaching gig? I think you do. I think you do. And why do I say that? Because that elevates Dan Campbell. That elevates the Detroit Lions.
Dan Campbell coaching tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think Dan's done, how do you say anything other than a phenomenal job?
The only thing I'll say if you're a Lions fan is you can't have it both ways. Hey, we've got one of the best OCs in the business. Totally agree. Who are you going to replace Ben Johnson with, dude?
Well, who are you going to replace Aaron Glenn with? And I know Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator in Detroit.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people don't know that name.
Doing a hell of a job.
But that defense has gotten incrementally better. I wish they would stop giving up big plays, but it's the NFL. How are you going to do that?
I think you can more easily replace Glenn than you can Johnson.
If New Orleans offers Aaron Glenn that job, he's going to go.
Yeah.
If not, I think Aaron Glenn's the guy that I think will stay. And I think Ben Johnson's a guy he has to. For his career development, he has to go.
Wonder if that's how he sees it.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's tough to say.
I don't know. Mayor Caruso would be a great hire, old Cliffy. I think it would.
Yeah.
Dude, I think it would, man. And I think you're a long time on this show. You know how I feel about his girlfriend. He's got a hot ass. Did you guys see Walker Kessler's girlfriend? Jazz center Walker Kessler. Ben Anderson from KSL tweeted Walker Kessler and Will Hardy. So the head coach of the Jazz and Walker Kessler, the center for the Jazz, watching Walker Kessler's girlfriend win Miss America
via social media,
sitting at a dinner table. And this is why I love Will Hardy. And I hope this Jazz job does not kill his career, but Will Hardy sitting there with Walker Kessler celebrating when his wife wins Miss America. It's just everything you want in a player coach relationship.
Yeah.
Like it. Yeah. I can see Glenn getting a job, but he might not leave as well. I don't think he's ready to be a head coach yet.
No.
I think, and Eric, didn't he play, and I should look this up before I say, I think Aaron Glenn played in New Orleans. And I think that he is a guy that, why have the Raiders not fired Antonio Pierce yet?
I'm telling you, everyone says that that's automatic, and it's not.
You don't think it's
not automatic. If you haven't fired your guy already, it's not automatic.
He did play in New Orleans in 2008. Jets, Texans, Cowboys, Jags, Saints. And I think those are the only two places. Obviously, he is we all know Aaron Glenn is a Jet. I don't think Eric, do you think he leaves Detroit to go be the head coach of the Jets? I can't see him doing that. I mean, do you want the Jet job?
Not for your first one out, no.
I don't think you want the Jet job.
Not for your first job out. No,
I agree.
It is too flammable.
Although Detroit didn't exactly have a winning culture or history when Dan got there.
Yeah, and
they built that. Aaron Glenn's been
a
big part of that.
Dude, like Detroit was just garbage. They were terrible, and they just didn't know how to win.
You don't have a quarterback, but you don't have an offensive line.
We've been over this 100 times.
You don't have an
ownership, dude. It's all ownership.
Going to hire for Woody Johnson. But do you hire this? And this is my problem in New York.
For both teams.
You're interviewing head coaches before you have a GM.
Yeah.
You got to hire a GM, then hire a coach, then go get a quarterback. Or you can be the Bears and fire all your head coaches, keep changing quarterbacks and
so-called experts.
Then you fire the president who has to keep the GM.
Yeah.
Hire the GM, let him hire a coach, and let them draft a quarterback.
Yeah.
That's why if I'm Aaron Glenn, if the Saints call me, I'm going to interview. And if they offer me, I'm probably taking it.
And I think, that's a much more low drama job. That's a good place to go for him as a former player, as your first head coaching job in the NFL. The Jets job is not for, anybody who has no experience. The Jet job is reserved for Mike McCarthy level guys.
I'd love to see Dan Campbell take the Jet job. That's the guy you need. The thing is,
what, Rex Ryan's not doing it for you?
My God. But what has Dan Campbell done that's made that team so good? Let Aaron Glenn coach the defense. Let Ben Johnson coach the offense. I'm going to oversee the whole thing.
Yes.
I'm a tight end guy. I'm going to let my guys do what they do. And I'm going to dabble around.
Yeah.
And I'm going to motivate guys, and I'm going to curse in post-game speeches, and I'm going to love on my players. That's why Dan Campbell's special, because he's not trying to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
He's letting Aaron Glenn. He's letting Ben Johnson. He's letting...
Empower your people. Hold them accountable when they don't do it.
That's why Dan Campbell's successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Deliric, Glenn to Dallas. Well, Dallas still has a head coach.
Well, his contract is expiring.
Yeah. Jerry Jones commenting on Mike McCarthy to the Bears. Go talk. That's not healthy to have somebody around that wants to be someplace else.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I'm telling you, Jerry's going to tear this thing down.
Oh, I think they're going to fight. Okay.
Monty?
Jets or Cowboys? I'm taking the Cowboys.
I sifted through all that.
I'm taking the Cowboy job.
Yep.
But again, it's funny you play that drop.
Jets or Cowboys. Good
Jets,
luck.
Cowboys, or Raiders. Bullet?
Yeah.
Retirement?
I'll take a coordinator position. Thank you.
Brandon Butler, I think Hardy is going to be safe with the Jazz unless San Antonio throws picks and a traitor Danny strikes again like with Doc.
Well, the thing with Hardy, not to get too deep on the Jazz, but Will Hardy's going to be here. Will Hardy's is a guy who is just putting years of experience under his belt while the Jazz suck out loud, and that's
NBA guys I talk to on the regular really like him.
Yeah.
And I can tell you I've been told repeatedly that Ryan Smith, the owner of the Jazz, really likes Will Hardy.
Yeah.
And would not fire him. So, and Walker Kessler was one of the big questions about, because I do think the Jazz will trade Walk. I do. That's my opinion.
There's too much value for him in the market.
And people have been asking me repeatedly, hey, would the Jazz do this deal? I've heard so many trade scenarios
how long
floated.
have we been hearing about people talking about Walker Kessler? I mean, it's been about a season now, full calendar season, where you're hearing, hey, like Walker Kessler's in demand. People like Walker. He's usable. He's very pliable in an offense. He can do a lot for you. And I think that's the thing. And this is still my point. And this is for everyone reaching out to us saying, well, why aren't you talking more NBA? Why aren't you talking more Jazz? Well, there's not a lot to talk about.
The Jazz. I would love to talk more Jazz. Jazz fans aren't talking Jazz.
Yeah, Jazz fans are talking Utah Hockey Club.
They're uninteresting.
Yeah.
That's the reality of it. I cannot tell you. I did a radio hit in Miami the other day talking about the Suns, the Jazz, and the Heat making a deal. Like, that's where the Jazz are. Hey, will the Jazz be a third team and send the Suns Walker Kessler, or send the Heat Walker Kessler? And that's where the Jazz are uninteresting right now.
Yeah.
They're winning too much. They're winning too much. Bryce Sensabaugh is a revelation.
Yeah.
If he can do what he's done in Florida the rest of the year, praise be to him, right?
Yeah.
Old Tatanka. How you doing, dude? Good to see you. The cemetery is full of irreplaceable men. Ain't that the truth? People will step up and take on new roles. Yes, they will. Stymie, New York media, and a rookie coach. Nah, I'm good.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Pass.
Eric Wasikowski, if Johnson leaves, a lot of talk about Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is everybody's next great offensive coordinator.
Yep.
Replacing Johnson, JT Barrett as well. Well, you can't have all the Ohio State guys. Glenn to the Cowboys. I read that one. I think Will Hardy will be good. I think it's harder for him to lose games. Dude will continue to be a fantastic coach. He's just got to hold on for 14 more years. That's it. Dan is a CEO letting his president do their job. I would agree with that. Dan Campbell's a wonderful story.
Yeah.
If you're not rooting for the Detroit Lions, your soul is broken.
Yeah.
What those fans in Detroit have been through, the teardown of the Red Wings, the Pistons have been just garbo.
The Hawks dominating you for all those years.
Did you see Jonathan Taves is coming back? He went to, I read a story last night while I was laying in bed half naked about Jonathan Taves going to India to get this nervous system thing. And he feels like he's in the best shape that he's been since he played. And so he is skating and working out. I think he has until March 7th to sign with a team, or he can to be eligible for the Stanley Cup playoffs, or he can come back next year. But apparently there's a dozen NHL teams interested in Jonathan Taves. The least of which is the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if Toronto wants him, I think he has to go.
It'd be so weird seeing him wear the Leaf, dude.
It would. But I'm a closet Maple Leafs fan. Obviously, I'm a Blackhawk fan first and foremost. But I don't have anything nice. That's why I said, do you think I'm not rooting for Notre Dame? God, dog, I just want what the Cubs.
Please.
Oh, I got the guy from Houston. Does he?
No.
Bro.
No.
I need this. I need somebody who can throw a baseball. The Cubs need pitching. Anyway, Jets, Cowboys, Raiders, that's like choosing between McDonald's, Burger King, and Whataburger. Can I tell you guys, since we got back, I have not eaten out.
Mm-hmm.
Eating whole food and stretching has changed my physical well-being. I don't even know how to describe it. What did I eat yesterday? Half a cup of oats with blackberries and blueberries for breakfast. I had pistachios as a snack. For lunch, I had a bag of corn and ground turkey with lemon pepper on it. For dinner, I had 3 eggs scrambled with a sweet potato. And I feel great. My wife's got me doing these quad hamstring calf Achilles stretches. Dude, it's not rocket science. Eat beans, eat vegetables. I'm telling you, I probably shouldn't even talk about this, but so I went clothes shopping. This is a pretty big week in the life, right? So I went clothes shopping over the weekend. I hate clothes shopping. Why do I hate clothes shopping? Because I got to figure out what size I am. Like, I hate it. Loved every minute of clothes shopping this past weekend. Why is that? I'm in the smallest pants I've been in I don't know how long. And one of the weird things that I have a weird relationship with sweaters. I hate sweaters. Hate them. And it's mainly because I don't look good in them. I put on a sweater over the weekend. And I was like, holy cow. I'm telling you, when you get healthy, and I say get healthy, when you lose a little bit of weight, And I wasn't even trying. But I don't think we ate terrible on our Christmas break.
No.
It wasn't locked down, right? Getting on the scale when I got back, same weight. Like trying on clothes and having the smallest waist I have had in probably 10 years. It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
It's wild. Just eat whole food. I don't eat fast food. The only fast food I ever eat is Chipotle. Like I had a Chipotle burrito over the weekend. And I'm eating a lot of beans. My not meal food right now is grapes, bananas, pistachios. Like, you'd be surprised how much better you feel.
Right.
So one of the things I deal with is I don't have an ACL in my left knee. And I pretty much chronically have knee pain.
Who are you, Jeremiah Love?
Exactly. So for the last month, I've been really every night in some mornings, the first thing I do when I wake up is I put my foot, the top of my foot on my bed, and I do a quad stretch. And I've been doing it every night and some mornings. My knee pain is almost gone. Stretching your hamstrings and quads and calves will do unbelievable things for your knee.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And my wife has been riding me to do it, and finally we're doing it.
Yeah.
Jaron Eccles, Bryce Sensabaugh has had a couple of really good games in a row. Nice to see something happening. Yeah, it really is. I agree, Jaron. Good to see you. Are you now a Commanders fan? I thought you were a Dolphins fan. Brandon Butler, it's just hard to talk about the Jazz when everyone is waiting for your season to start in June.
Yeah.
Truth. The Todd father, Monty, whipping those wings into shape. Let's hope. Let's hope. Sir Bob Love says, Leafs fans, stay out of my closet.
I will
it's my
say,
second hockey team.
I enjoy watching the Leafs. I think it's been such a tumultuous and just painstaking 4 seasons for the Leafs. Like getting to the playoffs, not winning. Like,
what are you, an Oilers fan?
Yeah, like, oh my goodness, dude. Like, it's tough, bro.
Watching Connor McDavid lose, it's so frustrating. Eating out is fine until you get the tap.
What the hell does that mean?
What does that mean? And he says beans. Yes, the musical fruit. The more you eat, the more you toot. Nothing tastes as good as being fit feels. Nothing.
Yeah.
Tastes as good as, oh, dude, it is. Hitting bombs over the weekend in my golf swing. Dave's hot chicken is once a month treat, and that's what it needs to be. It's what it needs to be. Yoga, my man, it's a lifesaver at our age. I think it is. But Brandon Butler, 100%. It really is. It really, really is a lifesaver. Okay.
Yeah, what's going on?
I've got like 10 texts from Monica. New health options available for you. I've blocked Monica. I cannot tell you how many times.
Monica's got that new number.
Dude, the spam texts and calls have been relentless.
Yeah. New year, new number.
God, dog.
Yeah.
Like, just go away, dude, which is what we're going to do. Be here on Thursday night. We are going to watch the Notre Dame. How about we do the second? Let's see how it goes. At some point during the Notre Dame game.
We're going to do some content from the sportsbook. That's our plan. It'll just be, it'll be very casual. We will be sitting in, I don't know, we'll have to decide which sportsbook
at some point during the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
If they're losing, it probably will not be. It'll be very short.
Right.
I'm a terrible loser. I am a terrible loser. We are going to Vegas for CES. You'll see a lot of us. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, TikTok, The Monty Show. Jake is SLC Jake. Follow us. Be a lot of interesting stuff. Big times for The Monty Show.
Yes.
So make sure you stay with us. We'll be back on a live show Monday. We'll be live a couple times over the weekend for the college football playoff. The Monty Show is always presented by The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Why would you pay a retainer? Why are you paying consultation fees? When you've been in an accident, maybe you got hurt at work, maybe you got hit by a big rig. Last thing you need to be worried about is, can you afford somebody to fight for you? You can. Because at the Advocates, you don't pay unless and until they win your case. Chat with an injury attorney live online for free at theadvocates.com. Until Monday, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.